Welcome to the Waldorf Gridiron Club podcast, your home for all things football at Waldorf University, the best small college football experience in America. Hosted by Andy Buffington and me, Troy Thompson, from the secret bunker beneath Bullsdorf Field.
Welcome to this episode of the Waldorf Gridiron Club podcast. Troy, we're back, we're rolling, and some pretty exciting things going on with this episode, my friend.
Absolutely, because we talked about it prior to Christmas. We said, you know what would be really great is if we had the opportunity to talk to some of the other coaches in the GPAC and get to know them because we really enjoy the GPAC, and even though it didn't go swimmingly well for us this year,
I think they enjoyed having us.
I think they did. So we thought we sent out invitations, and we've got some coaches lined up as they continue to come in, and we've got our first one here with us today from Hastings College, Coach Matt Franzen.
Welcome, Coach.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I didn't realize that I was the first contestant for you on this venture. I guess maybe it's fitting because we are the furthest away.
Yes, you are.
Geographically. So anyway, hopefully we can start it off and set the bar really high.
Well, we look forward to heading out to Hastings, Nebraska. I tell you, Coach, I've not been, but I was one of I was National Guard, retired out of the military, 26 years. My last duty was being the truck master of a transportation company about 40 miles away for the National Guard. And we would send our trucks out to Wyoming regularly, and the midway stop frequently was the fairgrounds at Hastings.
At Hastings, yeah. Well, and we've got a National Guard training center just outside of town, also.
Yeah,
very nice.
So
it's a pretty definitely a presence here. We've got a couple guys on our team that are involved with National Guard as well. So
I love that.
So that's good deal.
That is great. So, Coach, we were kind of digging into who you are, what makes you tick, and stuff like that. And as I got a little bit deeper, I'm starting to realize that you, sir, are the grandfather of the Great Plains Athletic Conference. Is that not true?
Well,
you're the dude. I mean, you grew up when it was the NEAC, when it was just the Nebraska Intercollegiate, and then it changed to the Nebraska Iowa. You were a player back in the day. You've been with a program in this conference from its not earliest days, because it goes back to like the early
20s, probably, yeah.
But still,
it goes earlier than that.
Yeah,
Nebraska football goes 1800s.
Yeah. But you've been around for pretty much everything, either as a player or a coach.
Well, when you put it that way, I guess I think Steve Ryan is the longest standing head coach.
Well,
so I'm not gonna claim all of that, but when you go back to playing days in the old conference in the old NIAC, when I started my career at Doane in the fall of 1990, it was the Nebraska Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, and then about 2 years later, Northwestern came on board, and then it became the Nebraska Iowa Athletic Conference. We didn't have to change the letters at all.
That's good.
And then I think it was the year 2000 when the GPAC came into existence, and then Morningside was in that group, and Dakota Wesleyan was in and joined that original bunch of the Nebraska Iowa schools. Briarcliff might have added football a few years later,
right?
But anyway, yeah. So I have been around the former conference and now obviously the current conference, and was out after college. I was out of football for a couple of years, and then got back into it at Hastings at that point. So anyway, I guess I do have to wear that grandfather hat.
I meant to say Godfather, Coach.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Yeah, the Godfather.
Godfather does.
That
grandfather's on your mind, Andy.
Well, yeah, I'm going to be a grandfather in May.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, it's like, Godfather. So I think that I think every time that we play you, we're going to have to come pay homage on your sideline and, kiss the ring, all that stuff, Coach.
You might want to consider a fedora, Coach. I mean, it could be a whole new thing there.
Yeah. Well, so you were so going back, you started your playing career post high school at Doane. Obviously you have history at Doane, you have history at Hastings, but Coach, what a stud. I mean, this guy that we're talking to, Troy, his freshman year, second team all NIAC.
Okay.
His sophomore and junior team, and obviously senior, he was first team all conference in the NIAC. He was also, his senior year as an offensive lineman, was first team all American in the NAIA. This guy's a stud.
Wow, Coach, how about it?
It was a much smaller conference. Back then, we only had 6 teams. So, but no, I look at the all conference teams now, and it feels like when we do get all conference representation, it's there aren't very many all conference awards to go around. I mean, the team that finishes first and second, are gonna generally clean up a lot of those first team all conference awards, and then like I said, if you're middle of the pack or lower, you might hope for one first team, and maybe you get a second team and a couple honorable mentions. So but no, there's a lot of, I mean, obviously we've got 11 teams that are playing football now, and back then there were 6. So I mean, it was almost half, just over half of what we have now. So it was easier to get all conference representation, and it was possible as a freshman. I mean, now it's pretty rare. This year at Hastings, we actually had a freshman punter who got second team all conference as a freshman.
That's
but it's
wonderful.
it's really rare to get that kind of an honor that first year nowadays. Anyway.
Yeah. So you started your coaching career as an assistant coach where you're at now at Hastings. That was like an 11-year gig, and then you went over to Doane as the head coach, and you did that for what? That was that was like 11 seasons, something like that.
That was 11 also.
Yeah.
11 was kind of a magic number on both of those.
Right. Well, hopefully you
stops.
hang around more than 11 years for this run, but you had 2 playoff appearances as head coach at Doane. In 2015, 2016, you were the Omaha World Herald's Midland Coach of the Year, which I think sounds like a pretty big deal.
Yeah, you guys did do your research.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I did my research. Troy just he basks in my glory.
That is correct, and I just add the commentary for the other things. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, Andy does a good job. When I will say, but to be fair, it depends on who he's talking to, because
this is true.
If we're bringing in somebody, then if it's just Coach Chapa or one of the coaches, then we know them pretty well. So then we just have a conversation. But yeah, he did it. But you're talking about your punter Trayvon Shaw from Auburn, right? Auburn, Nebraska.
Auburn, Nebraska. Yes, he was not a transfer portal from Auburn University.
Not yet.
Coach, speaking of transfers, though, I'll tell you what, we ran into, I know you obviously play the same teams we did. I saw a lot of dudes from coming out of University of Nebraska, Lincoln there, especially when we visited Concordia. And no, it was the other one too. The Doane too had people that were,
I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, they're not too far away. You guys got any transfers from the Big Red over there?
Well, yes and no. So we do have a transfer coming in the fall. Who is he's originally a Hastings High graduate.
Great.
And walked on at Nebraska and was there for 2 seasons, and then transferred to University of South Dakota and was up there for two seasons as well. And so his name is Jarrett Senek. So anyway, so he followed similar trajectory anyway to some of those guys that you mentioned. His return to Hastings honestly has more to do with his family here. His oldest brother is a grad assistant on our staff.
Oh, okay.
And Jarrett is the middle brother, and then his youngest brother is a senior at Hastings High, and he's on our commit list also. So we're going to have the 3 Seneks on our team and our program at least for 1 year. and we'll have the two quarterbacks together for 2 years anyway. So that had to do more, I think, with Jarrett deciding to come back home and spend a couple seasons with his brothers in football. Had more to do with it than anything else. But anyway, we're happy to bring him on board, and hopefully that will be a good deal for all of us.
No place like home. Coach, you didn't have to play him, but we played St. Francis 2 years in a row.
I was thinking the same thing.
They got 3 brothers on that team, and it was like, good Lord, it's like that was their whole team, and they were phenomenal. And of course, we saw the end of that on both years.
Those 3 brothers, and as soon as you started talking about the 3 brothers, Coach,
that's what I thought.
First thing I thought of, like, man, every time we go up against a team that has 3 brothers, they stomp us like a narc at a biker rally. Oh my gosh, they destroy us. Oh my goodness.
So you had some. You got Ethan Wilborn got recognition, wide receiver for you guys. Jaden Roberts, linebacker, first team, and that's all pretty good. And you have 4 other guys too, so that's good stuff.
Very good.
And actually, 3 honorable mentions as well. Xander, Gavin, and Jake Lambert. They're not all related. I didn't say all their last names, but yeah.
No, and we were pretty happy with that. I mean, we had 2 wins on the season, and usually you have 2 wins, it's going to be pretty slim on the all conference team. And so Jaden got first team, which was a big goal of his going into the season. He had the year before as a sophomore, he had finished near the top of the conference in total tackles. I mean, I want to say like second, and didn't get any honors. He may have gotten honorable mention, and he used that for motivation and kind of had a chip on his shoulder all season. So it was neat to see a guy come back and really have a purpose. He's a good teammate, good team player, but that was an individual goal that he set for himself and was able to accomplish. And Ethan Wilborn, I think if we would have had a more productive offense maybe cast around him in a couple teams in our conference, I think he probably could have put up some really big numbers, because he's a very, very talented wide receiver. We just had a tough time sometimes getting the ball to him and giving him an opportunity to show what he could do. But anyway, no, we were overall, like I said, with that all conference representation, we were pretty happy with what we were able to get out of that.
Well, Jaden Roberts put up some numbers against Waldorf back in September. He had 8 total tackles, 7 solos, 1 assist, and then a sack. Can't forget that. He had a good game here in Bolstor Field. So yeah.
So was it now? Obviously, you were our head coach, Tyler Chapa. You were his head coach when he was down at Doane. He was a D1 bounce back that came in, and that was probably led more by Josh Littrell. He's living over there in Crete. But so, how long did you coach with Coach Littrell before he came up here to Forest City and coach at Waldorf?
So I want to say 4 years. So Josh's first year on staff with us at Doane, he had come from San Antonio, where he was a high school coordinator there at Warren High School, and his wife Renee, of course, had gotten a head softball coaching job at Doane, and that's what brought them. So they moved up as a family, and Josh came up and he didn't have a job. He was kind of along for the ride, and we didn't have a position open, and so we were able to get him on kind of as a part-time stipend coach, and then he did some worked in the community to earn a paycheck that first year, and did a really, really good job coaching our running backs. And then our offensive coordinator left after the season, and Josh was there, and I mean, we didn't really interview. We had had the season to be around him and figure out and get to know what he could do and his knowledge, and so he became the offense coordinator and quarterback coach. And I believe that was a 3-year deal. 2 of those years were playoff years. And Tyler, then Coach Chapa, came along during that process as well. So Josh had coached Tyler in high school down at Warren. And Tyler had gone to Abilene Christian out of high school, played a couple of years there, and then ended up at our place. And that was 100% because of their relationship is what brought Tyler to Crete, and had 2 great seasons for us there at Doane. And I think those were the 2 playoff years in 15 and 16.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Tyler was a big part of our defensive secondary on those teams. And then of course Josh left to go take that head coaching job there at Waldorf, and shortly after Tyler joined him, and obviously Tyler is still there. Josh has moved a couple times since then, and now he's back in Crete.
Yeah, he
and
is.
he's going to coach Crete High School there as we go into the next year. But anyway, so I got to know Tyler really well there when he was playing for us, and have kept contact with him as he's become a head coach. He calls sometimes with young head coach questions, and so it's good to stay in touch with him and watch as he's starting his career there.
Yeah, he says nothing but very good things about you, Coach. You're definitely a mentor and somebody that he considers in his corner. So, he was so excited before you guys came up to Bullstorf Field, just because he was going to have a chance to coach against somebody that he looks up to and respects very, very much, and that he played under. And it was kind of he was like a kid in a candy store that day. Of course, he's still. I mean, I'm a little bit older than you, Coach, but he's still a kid in my book.
Yes, I would agree. I would agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into a little bit about how things are going down there at Hastings. How's your spring ball looking? How is your recruiting going? How are we going to reload the Broncos? And I do want to say before we go any further, of all the helmets, well, obviously except for Waldorf because I take care of those, but you guys have my favorite helmets in the conference. I love your helmets, Coach. They're awesome.
Well, good. I appreciate that. It's a little bit of a historical helmet with the Baltimore Indianapolis Colt horseshoe that has been I wouldn't use the word copied for copyright reasons,
no,
but
absolutely not.
It's very, the similarities are there. But my first year, the athletic director at the time, a guy named BJ Pomeroy, approached me, and this was his idea, to flip the color of the helmet. And the Hastings helmets had been white for forever, and there was a crimson horseshoe and a crimson face mask. And he said, what about flipping our helmets to crimson? And that can kind of be a new brand for the program and for you as our new head coach. And so anyway, I thought, it's kind of a neat idea. And so we did, and we went with, and just kind of for fun. The NFL at that time was, a lot of the teams had gone to the old light gray, kind of a generic face mask that all the NFL teams wore in the 70s, regardless of their colors. And so we ended up putting those on, and that has then kind of become the accent gray to our uniforms now. In that. So anyway, so that's a little bit about the helmet part of it.
Well, you mentioned copyright, Coach, and that's something that you talk about the Colts or whatever. Waldorf forever. These darn copyright rules, trademarks, whatever they are, we were pretty much Vikings. Like, I mean, I'm pretty like everything was very. Even our colors are obviously the same, but then even we would use the old the old not the horns, but I mean even the Viking character, like just even whatever. All that stuff. Yeah, so it's there. And game days, which is a big part of what both Andy and I do, not just with the Gridiron Club, but he mentioned that he takes care of the uniforms, the helmets, all these pieces of equipment that the team uses. I do the PA and the announcing, and we try to make our game day at Bullstorf as NFL-like as we can, considering the circumstances. And I think that's just a big part of college football on Saturday, is you have to create that environment for those kids. Yep.
Oh, I totally. There's a coach that's gone now, but a guy named Frosty Westering was kind of a small college legend, and he coached at Pacific Lutheran for a lot of years. And when I played, at Doane, Pacific Lutheran, Pac Lutheran was still an NAIA school, and they were winning national championships in the early 90s. And anyway, I had a chance to hear him speak at a couple coaches conventions through the years. But his topic catchphrase was always make it the big time where you are. And it was like, it was very much geared toward non-Division I, non-NFL, small college football, but it was that don't let that be an excuse to do things as big time as you possibly can. So, whatever that looks like on your limited budget, you owe it to the kids, you owe it to the fans, and sometimes you even owe it to yourself to really, kind of church it up as much as you can and put a spin on some things and whatever that looks like, but make it the big time where you are. So that's something that sometimes I think we have to remind ourselves that there are little things we can do to make things really neat and original, because there are a lot of things that we do in small college football that there's lots of hats that we wear as coaches and a support crew and that sort of thing that at the Division I schools, Matt Rule isn't at Nebraska, isn't doing a lot of the things that we're doing. He's not soaking uniforms on Saturday night when he gets home from the road game off the 4-hour bus ride. And we literally do that. That's our staff debriefing off of our road games as we go in the laundry room and we throw detergent and our white jerseys in the trash can to soak overnight. Oh yeah. And talk about however good or however bad our day went, and what we're gonna have to deal with tomorrow or whatever it is. But anyway, so yeah, making it the big time where you're at is important. And like I said, we're kind of remembering to find ways to do that, because sometimes you get caught up in the minutia of everything that we do. But anyway, that's great.
Josh Littrell, you mentioned him. We were talking about a little bit ago. I mean, he was a big impact on the Warrior program. Certainly, that's where the Gridiron Club started, and then his following him. We came up with Will Finley. Our motto is the best small college football experience in America. And the problem with this is that when you're 0-11 and you're just like, we're the best small college, and we are, but we treat our players like we are 11-0, not the other way around. And that's what you do. So whether it's game days or any of the things that our Gridiron Club tries to do, it's all about the players. Because, and Coach, you know this better than we do, but for your entire team, 130 or however many are on the roster, that's the same situation. That's their life for 4 or 5 years, and those are the guys that are going to stand next to them in their weddings and all those other things. So it's a life-changing experience, and we just want to make it as special as we can. I'm sure that's the same thing for you, and it appears to be the same thing that we found this freshman year, our inaugural season with the GPAC. They all seem to have that mentality of taking care of their teams and making it a special program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right, and I think no matter where you go around the league, it feels like, and it should feel that way, but it does feel like there, the pride within the programs is real, whether you're playing a team like Morningside that's won national championships or playing against a team that's coming in with 0 or 1 wins or whatever it is, that when those kids take the field, the meaning, what it means to the players, to the team, to the parents, to the families, shouldn't be any different or shouldn't be any less. And so anyway, I like you said, I think around the GPAC, I think you're seeing that it looks a little different in different settings, but that sentiment, I think, is there everywhere you go, and that's one of the reasons it's so hard also to win in the league, because nobody comes in and just lays down and gives you a win. I mean winning games in our league is a real challenge, and the teams that win most or all of them are really working hard and dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and sometimes they have more talented players than most everybody else, but even so, they're still doing all the homework and putting in all the work in the off season to make those things happen. And so So anyway, no, it's definitely puts a stamp on that 4 years that the kids are in college. And like you said, going on, those are the relationships that they're going to remember, and the people that are going to be in the weddings and all those things. In a lot of cases, are the guys that they dress next to in the locker room for those 4 years of college.
For sure. And speaking of hard work, go back to kind of what I started in on a little bit ago is how is your off season? Starting in November, you guys hit the floor running, start recruiting, and now you're thinking about spring ball. How's everything going down in Hastings in that regard?
All in all, I think it's going well. We came off of last season and we were really disappointed with how the season overall went for us. We had a couple of years ago, we won 7 games, which was my second year. The next year we won 5 games with a much younger team. The 7-win season, we had 27 seniors on that team. And they really were the team from the quarterback to a bunch of players on defense, the whole secondary. I mean, we're seniors, and we felt like that year we really got the culture headed in the right direction. And the next year we got really young, but we had what we felt like a very healthy culture, and when we went 500 on that season, but it felt okay. We won a couple big games at the end of the season against Midland and Mount Marty, and then this last season felt like, okay, we got a lot of people coming back. Now we're going to take that step back into that 7-win realm, and it went the other way. And so we had some injuries early, and then those things are generally out of your control, but some of the things that were in our control, we felt like we let get away from us. And midway through the season, there were some games where we couldn't really put our finger on it, but we just didn't come in and compete at a real high level. I didn't feel like our guys were hungry in certain games, which, like I said, we couldn't define it at the moment, but something that's kind of inexcusable. And at the end of the season, one of our linemen, who's a sophomore last year, but he's turned into one of our real leaders, came up to me and said, and it was either on the practice field or at the end of one of our games, and said, "Coach, one of the things I've been thinking about this season just didn't go right." He said, "Last year we didn't work hard enough in the off season." Oh. I kind of nodded my head, and he said, "No, think about it, Coach. I'm serious." He said, "Last off season, we went through the whole off season and nobody puked." and I kind of chuckled, and then he's not joking.
Yeah.
Nobody did. And your goal going into an off season workout isn't to make everybody throw up.
Right.
But if you're working that hard, at some point somebody's probably gonna throw up. I mean, you hear about Jerry Rice when he played in the NFL. Players would go train with him in the off season because they knew that that's the level that he worked out at, and they would run hills until they puked. That was a normal thing for those guys. And so anyway, so we changed some of the things with our off-season workouts, our winter workouts now, and our guys are. I mean, we're really working. We have had guys throw up. And
there you go.
And congratulations.
But awesome. but it feels. I mean, it feels like our guys are really buying into the work. And
good.
And I think one of the things that I really come to believe over the years is when you're dealing with small college athletes. I've never coached Division I, and I'm sure I never will. But I would say small college athletes really includes anything from NAIA Division III, Division II, even. You can't substitute for the hard work that has to go into it. I think the elite Division I and NFL guys, they do it the same way, but I also think there's guys at that level that truly are so gifted athletically that they can get by on their athleticism. Now they probably don't make it to the ultimate level out of Division I, maybe into the NFL without that work ethic. But I do think there's guys at that level that probably can get by just on sheer athleticism. But at the smaller colleges, it doesn't happen. Nobody is athletic enough to just show up and get it done. And I've learned that over the years with practice. If you have a player at our level that doesn't practice, they're injured maybe a little bit in the game on Saturday, and then maybe they don't practice for the week and come back and maybe do the walkthrough on Friday and line up and play on Saturday. They're worthless on Saturday without putting in a good week of practice, because they're just not gifted enough athletically to do it. That's why we are at small colleges, because we are a little bit limited athletically, and it's just a fact. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just the way it is. So to put in that work I think is vital if you want the real payoff in the season, to be able to line up and be competitive in those games against the best teams. So anyway, long answer, but I really feel like our off-season work right now, I think it's the right kind of work. I think it's what we need. Now how's it going to play out in the season? Our league is so good that like you can put in all the work and do everything right, and the likelihood of going undefeated is still pretty slim for most programs.
True.
So, but you still do it. You put in all the work, and you go in every single week. You go in with a game plan to set to win the game. And if you do win them all, great. If you don't win them all, well, at least you did everything you could. Right. And those are the things that we're doing now. So recruiting has gone well. There's the thing about recruiting, the tough thing about recruiting is there's so much rejection through the recruiting process that you kind of have to brace yourself and try not to get too emotionally involved in it, because if you recruit 10 kids, 8 of them are going to tell you no, and you can't let those no's knock you down too much. Some of those no's are going to be the guys that you really, really, really wanted, but the other teams are recruiting the same guys. So anyway, at the end of the day, I try to remind myself that you're going to get the kids that are fits for your program, and the ones that aren't. I heard, I believe it was David Shaw, who was the Stanford coach a while back. Coach spoke at a coaches convention once, and the best things I've heard about recruiting that I have to constantly remind myself of to not get discouraged are those things. They're that the kids that belong in your program are going to come to your program if you are doing a good job and putting your best foot forward, and you're going to miss out on kids, but they may not be, that maybe they weren't right for your program. So trust your own process, and you're going to get the kids that belong with you. And then the other thing that he said is that, if a good kid gets away, you're only going to have to deal with him for 4 days for the rest of your life. 4 days ever are you going to have to line up and look at that kid. Right. If you get a kid and you think he was going to be a great one, and you get him and he turns out to not be the type of person that you wanted, and that happens, you got to deal with him every day for the next 4 years.
True. Oh yeah.
So I remind myself of that too. There's one and sorry, I'm taking over the conversation here, but
that's the idea.
There's one at Midland named Tyson Dinkert.
Heard the name.
And he's got one more year next year. He's the first team all conference running back as a sophomore and a junior, and I'm sure he will be next year as a senior. He was first team all conference kickoff returner and led the conference the last 2 years in touchdown in returns for touchdowns, kickoff and punt return. Anyway, he's from Kennesaw, which is about 10 minutes down the road from Hastings.
Oh gosh.
And he's at Midland. And so we knew when that one got away, we knew that was going to be a problem, and it has been. But there again, only for 3 hours on 3 days, and we have one more day. We have 3 hours left that we got to watch Tyson over there on the other sideline. So anyway, would we have loved to have it? Absolutely. But when the great ones get away, those are good things to remember.
Well, you don't burn any
have to deal with them every day.
Don't burn any bridges either, Coach. I mean, you never know when some of these kids are going to come back. Well, you mentioned it earlier. You got a kid coming back to Hastings from Hastings, and that's it's you never know what brings people back too. But it has a lot to do with how they're handled in the recruiting process and just the experience, with the institution, whatever that may have been. You reminded me of, you said you're talking about kids throwing up. I think that's great. There was a wrestling coach at Waldorf, Tyler Brandt, rest in peace.
Geez, yeah.
He'd tell me he's like, I'm gonna make these kids puke, like their first workout. Wrestlers they can't start workouts until they get to campus, and so he's like, we're gonna make them puke. And then I stopped in and I said, well, Tyler, how's it going? And he started giggling. And he's like, well, I said I was gonna make them puke. I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, a lot of them puked. I said, but one of the kids pooped his pants. And I was like, he pooped his pants? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, Coach, he's probably not coming back. Like, he's going to transfer, you can't outlive that. And so hopefully, make them puke, make them work. And if they're bought into it, that sounds good. Don't make them poop, though. That's not something that you want to see happen at a practice.
Yeah, that would be the threshold. We're not.
That's
we don't
too
want
much.
to cross that. Right. That's step too far.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of when they're on especially if they're on the turf field. Now, our turf field here at Waldorf, they can pretty much do anything they want on that because it's seen better days. You were here, Coach. You know what that's like. But when our kids are running extra hard, especially early in camp in the fall, and they start getting sick, it's like, go over by the rocks. Don't puke. I mean, like, somebody has to get tackled on this here in a little bit, dude. Come on, man.
Right. Yeah. Yes. When somebody vomits on the turf, that does need to be cleaned.
Oh yes.
Some way. And
yeah.
You're right. Right.
Well,
you need to have some trash cans around or something. Yeah.
You made some changes, and we did too. I see you've got a new offensive coordinator over there, and we recently changed our offensive coordinator as well. What can you tell us a little bit about Bauer?
Yes. So we changed after the season. That was one thing that we decided as a program that we wanted a different head to the offense, and so made a change there. Hired a guy named James Bauer. He has he's moved around a lot, which in some regard is you worry a little bit because we would like to have him more than a year or two. We'd like to have him here for a while, but also as we went through the interview process and learned why people moved and why they went to a school for just a year and then moved elsewhere and that sort of thing. And then with Coach Bauer, he's got a wife and a very young family. They have a 2-year-old daughter, and most likely, Lord willing, there will be more on the way. And when you get to that point as a young coach, you hopefully settle in a place for a while and plant some roots. So anyway, but he had been at Kansas Wesleyan the last few years as the offensive coordinator and was at Southwestern Kansas for 3 or 4 years as the offensive coordinator before that. And so at both schools, they had national playoff teams. And at Southwestern, he was there when they turned from being a very average program to one of the elites right now in the KCAC. And he was a big part of that turnaround. And then he moved to Kansas Wesleyan and walked into a program that was already at the top level, at the top tier of the KCAC. And anyway, last season at Kansas Wesleyan, midway through the season, they were running at about 500, and the school let their head coach go. And it was just an odd situation because it didn't have to do with performance. The team wasn't undefeated, but they won half their games halfway through the season, and there wasn't a scandal that forced it to happen. I think there were some personality conflicts between the head coach and administration, and so they went through the back half of the season, and they had two coaches were named basically interim co-head coaches. Coach Bauer was the offensive coordinator, and they won the rest of their games after that coaching change. They won out went to the national playoffs as a representative from their side, from their division of the KCAC, went to Dickinson State and played that game, and by all rights should have won the game. It got away from him late, but anyway, so I mean, he's a young coach, but the experience that he brings with him is really solid, and it kind of felt like me as the head, as a seasoned head coach, not grandfather, but as a seasoned head coach, kind of felt like, I need an offensive coordinator that's somebody that I can work with, maybe in a mentoring type of a role.
You bet.
As he moves forward. And I think one day I think he'd like to be a head coach and that. And so anyway, he's been with us for a month now, but it feels like a good fit. It feels like a good fit for our program, for our players, for me personally. I do coach a position. I coach the offensive line. And so, I'm working in season. We're working hand in glove together, getting the offensive game plans ready to go. And so anyway, it feels like a really good fit. And hopefully a year or 2 years from now, we'll be saying the same thing. I think we will. So yeah, that's been good.
Well, and when we get down to Hastings next year, we can look Coach Bauer up and both talk about our disdain for Dickinson State, because as you know, we were part of the North Star, and Dickinson just they kind of beat us up every time we played them. They're a very good program, and as Coach Littrell always said, traveling all the way over to eastern Montana to play football from north central Iowa. We'll definitely have to do that, and we're just thrilled to death.
We still have listeners from Dickinson.
We do.
I don't know why. I think that they like the fact that we bring up their name.
Yeah,
I leave it alone.
Exactly, leave them. But we're just thrilled to death to be a part of GPAC, and the North Star. At the time, that was Waldorf's best option, being a for-profit, school. And then when we made application to the GPAC, there was a lot of excitement in the community, within the university and things like that, because we just feel like that's a really good fit. And going through this season, you find an affinity for these other programs. There's a lot of respect within the GPAC, the programs. Obviously, we're just around football, but there's a reason it's the best conference in the United States, and it's a class act through and through. So we really love being members, and it's good stuff. So. And again, you being the godfather of the GPAC football, that says a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. No, so, Coach, some of the things that we wanted to touch on too is obviously we love football, but so you being the guy that you were a Hastings guy and a Doane guy. That's kind of been your career, it seems like. Now you met your wife while you were at Hastings. Is that correct?
Yeah, she's a Hastings grad too, from what I see from your profile here.
Yes, that is correct.
And
so,
it looks like there's quite a bit of now, Coach, that it seems like you married into a very musical family, and so and your daughter is a vocal music teacher at Hastings. Is that still the case at the middle school there?
That's my wife.
Yeah. Lacey. Yes. I read. I'm a slow reader.
He's not very bright. He was in the Army, that. Coach. You're gonna have
you got to give me a break. Chance. I mean, at least
that's okay. I got a late start on having children. So so my eldest is 14. So she may be running the middle school, but she's not
in the middle school, not the
teacher.
Yet. Okay, yes. Thanks for the correction there. So does that musical ability, does that translate to you too? You got some.
It has not moved across.
Oh no,
that direction. It has translated to our offspring.
Okay, okay.
They both love to sing and play piano and anyway, our oldest plays trumpet also, and our youngest plays the cello and saxophone, and so they do a really good job with that. In fact, the three of them, one of the neat things last year, like I said, our season was a disappointment, but the last game we hosted Mount Marty, and my wife and 2 daughters sung the national anthem. So
Oh man,
that was pretty neat.
That's so great.
I will say cello is my favorite type of classical music. I'll listen to specifically will select cello, the classical cello station on Amazon. I don't know. There's just something about it.
Haunting.
Well, maybe that's what it is. Yeah. That could very well be.
I'm so non-musical. Nobody in my family. My daughter, my eldest child is. I'm 55, Coach. My eldest child is 28, and she believes that we've cheated her because she was probably a piano prodigy.
Oh yeah,
and she missed the boat. So I guess that's my fault.
Well, you can tell her that window hasn't closed yet. She could still
take up piano at a later age.
Somebody would take her money for a lesson or two.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, she's living down there in Missouri. I don't even know if they have pianos in that state.
Well, now, Coach, we're going to come to Hastings to see you. I know that I haven't seen the schedule yet. I guess the schedule is out, at least to the coaches. I haven't seen it, but irrelevant. We're going to come down to Hastings and look. This past summer, we hadn't even begun competing in the GPAC yet, and we went through every town and every program with Coach Chapa, just trying to let our listeners, our fans, know about our communities that we're either going to visit or that we will eventually visit.
Yep.
And we do know some things about Hastings.
Oh boy,
my favorite thing about Hastings,
everybody's favorite thing about Hastings,
is Kool-Aid.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's the hometown of Kool-Aid. We're pretty proud of Winnebago, but Kool-Aid, everybody can have a Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm. It was invented. Here. In fact, the Hastings Museum, we have a really, really nice museum right in town. The lower level of the museum has a big display of the invention of Kool-Aid and the family that invented it and how the early marketing went and all of that. So yes, so that happened right here.
Do you know, though, Coach, what it was originally called?
Oh, I should know. We took our team over there. Actually, during the season, we needed a break from football, so one afternoon we went on a field trip to the museum.
It's the best name. I don't know why they didn't stick with it.
What was it? You have to remind me.
Fruit Smack.
Fruit Smack.
Fruit Smack. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got a lot.
It's the best.
It is great.
Fruit Smack is the best.
And because I think don't they have like Kool-Aid days down there in Hastings? As like
every August Kool-Aid days. Yeah,
absolutely,
big festival.
And now I do have to know, Coach, have you ever been to the Sasquatch Museum down there?
I have not.
Okay,
that's also in Hastings.
Yes,
just on the north edge of town. Now, I am told.
Yep,
it is what I'm told. So. Reliable sources tell me that it's by appointment.
Ooh.
So if you do want to
probably
visit,
guided. It's a guided tour.
Oh, I'm sure. You bet. It's a little acreage there, so as you can imagine, the Sasquatch Museum, it does look a little sketchy to just pull into. So I would definitely call ahead and make an appointment. But yeah, our women's soccer coach, actually, when I went here, we were joking about it, and she straight face. She said, "Well, yeah, I've been out there. We went out and checked it out." I go, "Really?" Yeah, she said, if you're into that stuff, it's really good. So
and you kind of have to.
I mean, Andy, we might have to put together like a little
Waldorf
Gridiron Club like a vacation package.
No, we got to get
stop by the Sasquatch by appointment.
Now, Coach, I know that being very busy, you probably didn't listen to our summer series where we kind of introduced our listening audience to the GPAC and the towns. But the first one we were talking
a lot of Fruit Smack, and obviously it didn't pan out. But
no, but we were pretty excited about Seward, and I don't know how far away Seward is. You're closer than we are. But on July 4th, they're going to be opening a time capsule, and they have a 1975 Vega.
They've got the largest time capsule in, they say, the world, and certainly in North America. It's a big pyramid. It's about 4 to maybe 6-8 blocks away from the stadium.
Yeah,
I don't know if you ever stopped by that, and probably busy.
But we're thinking about committing some Grand Theft Auto, and wonder if maybe we could use you for an alibi or something.
Yeah. Could we be somewhere else? It's a 1975. They've got a couple cars in that thing, actually. Yeah.
I've been to Seward for they do call themselves the 4th of July city.
Yes,
That's
they
true,
do.
Or the
yeah.
4th of July
Yeah.
capital of the country or something.
Yeah, they do.
It's a great 4th of July
Okay.
if you want to go spend the day, as long as it's not 110 degrees out. They have street vendors and shows and gunfights, and I mean not real
I like
guns,
the
but
That's
gun
good.
yeah, like
fights.
old
not real
West gunfights on the street.
No.
That'd be hard to
And,
explain.
Yeah.
That's not good for tourism, but
Right.
but no, it's neat. They have a lot of neat things there.
That's
in
awesome.
Seward
Well,
on the 4th of July.
What else should we see when we're in Hastings? There, we mentioned the fairgrounds. Obviously, the fair will be over by the time the season rolls around. But what else can we do in Hastings?
Well, Duncan Field is where the baseball team plays, and it's a historical site. If you're into like baseball history, they have a little museum there at the field, and it's recently renovated. It's a neat. There's a like semi-pro team that plays here in town in the summers.
Okay.
But anyway, that's it. If you're into old baseball stadiums with the brick wall in the far outfield and that, it is all of that. So that's pretty neat. There's plenty of good restaurants if you like food.
What's your favorite restaurant? I mean, we're going to be traveling out there, so.
Well, the best one, but it's like a once every 2-year deal if you're on coach's salary. But downtown Hastings is called the Odyssey.
Okay.
And it is. I mean, it is like a big city sit down fancy steak.
It's an
restaurant.
experience.
And
It's not just a meal. It's not just a meal.
Oh, we're going to be booking some
it's
steaks.
I mean it's some of the best food I've had ever right here in Hastings. But again, it's got to be a special occasion because
I understand
or just don't look at the price on the menu when you order your steaks.
Just swallow hard and point to something.
It's really good. So the couple. I mean, we're simple folks, so a couple of the bars that have really, really good bar food.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a couple of Mexican restaurants that have really
nice,
really good Mexican food. So
Coach, obviously you probably don't get a whole lot of free time, being a football coach, we kind of know what that's all about. But when you do get a chance to spend some time doing what you want to do, what do you like to do for your free time?
Well, yeah, I do like to read. Sometimes I have to make time or find time to read, but like reading. I like history. I really like sports history. And like the 8 Men Out, those type of stories. I really get into some of that old sports history stuff. My 2 daughters, like right now, are a big part of our free time in summers.
Of course,
both of them are playing softball, and so one is 11, and she made one of the local 12 and under teams for this coming year, and one is 14, and she made a 16 and under team this year. So we'll be splitting up and doing a fair amount of traveling, going to their softball tournaments this summer. But it's for parents or for young folks that don't have kids, when I would have heard this 20 years ago, I would have rolled my eyes and said, "You've got to be kidding! You would actually enjoy that." but it's fun. It's awesome.
That's
going, and especially in the summer, because our summers with football, we do a couple summer camps, but otherwise, we do have a good amount of free time in the summer.
Very good,
and it's fun doing those things. Those have become our summer vacations for the time being. But that watching our chasing our kids around with sports and that sort of thing right now anyway is really a big part of what free time we do have becomes not free time, but it's good investment anyway in our time.
Couldn't agree more.
I'm reading a biography about Ted Williams called The Kid. I love that. Ted Williams is my favorite hitter in baseball. Have you read the Captain Class though? That's not. I mean, it's
yes.
You can. Okay, you have. So Waller wrote that book, or what? Sam Waller wrote. I thought that was great. It was very interesting.
Yep.
Yeah,
I read that. So when I was at Doane, the athletic director at the time, she created a I don't know, she called it a coach's library, and she asked all the coaches for one or two recommendations, and she bought the books, and hopefully, I'm sure it still exists, but like for the coaches could check out the books from right there in the athletic department, and one of them was the Captain Class. So I read it, and this is like 10 years ago, and still remember some of the neat stories from that book. And actually this Christmas, my mom asked me, is there something you want? Is there a book? And I was like, yeah, so there's a book I read way back called The Captain Class. And I mean, I would take it. I would sure read that again. So I have it. It's literally sitting right here in our living room for me to read again.
Very nice.
I haven't gotten to it yet because I have one and I have one on deck. So it's kind of in the hole. It's my next on deck to read again. But
the truth is, Coach, we're actually in a van sitting outside your house right now, and I was looking in and I saw that there, and no, that I thought that same thing, and especially when like people can read the book, and I did the same. That was a book that I actually bought. That's one of very few books that I've bought multiple copies of and given away, either to members of leadership teams that I was working with in the National Guard or whatever, and it just it's just a great. That's what it's about, is about team building, and of course the characteristics of the true leaders are not the ones that you necessarily get the fanfare, and that was what was so fantastic about that book. And of course that leads me back to what you said much earlier about you said the guy's not worth a darn if he doesn't practice all week. He gets a little bit of an injury on Saturday, and then he comes in and does the walkthrough, and that made me think of my boys. I have 4 boys. One of them plays at Waldorf. The other two, one's still in high school, and the other 2 played football at Upper Iowa. They all think I'm crazy when I can look at a player and in any sport and go, the kid's a quitter, and they're like, what are you talking about? And I can tell. I spent a lot of years in recruiting in the military, and I can it's because if they look to the crowd, and you see what I'm saying, Coach, like if they get a little bit of an injury, they come out, the game's going bad, and it's not going our way, and then they come off, they get a little bit of a ding dong, and then they come on, and then they're looking at the crowd, and they're making these, these emotive reactions, and they're like, oh, as if to say to kind of telescope to the audience. If I was able to be in there, but I'm so wounded. If I could be in there, but I can't. And I was like, I'm so frustrated, but I won't go back in because it's not going our way. You know what I'm talking about? That drives me crazy. And that's not the characteristic we're looking for that book was talking about. No.
Right. Yeah. And the sports psychology behind it is interesting. And in that book, one of the things that was really interesting to me, I think his hypothesis going in was that he would have with the captains of all these elite teams and all kinds of sports through history.
It'd be Michael Jordan. And it wasn't.
He was right. He was going to find the same characteristics in all of the captains, and he did find some things in common, but by and large, there wasn't necessarily the same characteristics. It was, there were different personalities. Could become captains. And like one of the examples he gave in there was Jack Lambert when he played for the Steelers. Mm-hmm. And there's a famous picture of him on the sidelines, with just bloodied and with that look on his face, and that like so much of Jack Lambert's persona as that tough guy was kind of made up. Like he would put himself in situations where it would look like he was cut and bleeding and injured and all that, because that was the image that his team needed to see, type of deal. And it worked. There was a volleyball player, and I want to say she was on like the Cuban national team or something. I mean, he talks about all of these just crazy, like awesome teams, but that you would never even think of. Yeah. But their team, they had been great, and then they played some game and in a small town against a local, anyway, whatever, a game they should have easily won. And the team went in and they were flat and they were getting beat and nothing was going right. And all of a sudden she just started cussing at the other team in the middle of the match, and basically just kind of purposely lost her stuff, cussing at the other team, and the other team just folded because they got so intimidated by her antics, and her team took over and won walking away. But like that, she she knew she had enough awareness of what was going on with her team, and the only thing she could come up with was to totally just flip in her mind, and and it was made up. Like it was all made up. She wasn't angry. She wasn't, but she started calling them names and this and that, and completely got in their minds. Anyway, so Sam Walker, who and wherever he is, he owes us for plugging that book right now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we don't get paid for the podcast, but we get paid in other dividends, and the ability to share with our the whole concept originally when it started was like, how can we just let our parents and our fans of Waldorf football continue to hear the voices of the players, the coaches throughout the year in a long form format. And it's been very successful in that regard.
Yeah.
And it's such a small audience. Obviously, it's mostly Waldorf fans, alumni, parents, and so forth.
And
so
people from Dickinson State.
And Dickinson, and for some reason, the
Russian Federation.
I don't know what they're doing, but anyway, so like that's so those things. But it's been very good, and we're just very obviously we're huge fans of Waldorf University football, Woo Ball, like we like to call it. But we're huge fans of the GPAC, and we've just been very impressed. Despite our record, we're impressed with the league, and we're impressed with the coaches and the players, the teams, the institutions that they all represent. It's a great place to be, and we're certainly thankful that we get to be a part of it. And I know we're getting towards the end of our our hour here, but Coach, isn't that what it's all about? Is the ability to play honest football as hard as you possibly can, and seek that victory every Saturday, work towards that goal, and come out ahead, hopefully. But no matter what happens, you come out a better man and a better person.
Yeah, no, it totally is. And I think one of the neat things with sports, having been in it for a long time, and you see it also from a different angle, as you guys know, as a parent, when you watch your kids have their early sports experiences, is just how it emulates life, and it teaches young people how to work with other people that maybe you don't always necessarily see eye to eye with or agree with, or maybe you don't always get along with. And as I tell our guys, we've got 120 players. Not all of you would probably choose to spend a Saturday afternoon together if you weren't on the same team. But guess what? We have something in common, and that's working toward this performance and trying to win a game. And we're going to build off of that, and it works. And those lessons are priceless. So one of the things too that I look at what's happening now with Division I football, with the transfer portal and the NIL and all of that, and is, I you used to think it'd be neat to coach at that level, if nothing else for the paycheck.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, give me that Scott Frost salary for a year and then fire me, and I'll be fine. I'll happily walk away with all that money and go buy an island and anyway. But I mean, I can't imagine what it would be like now to coach at that level with just a constantly revolving roster, and trying to convince your best players to stay on your team and not go to the next team, and recruiting strictly out of the portal, which a lot of those Division I programs do. And
of course they do.
The thing that I really appreciate, and I'm glad that in small college football, it's still, I mean, it really still is pure. I mean, we're not perfect. Our kids aren't perfect. Nobody's perfect, but we're doing it for the right reasons. Our guys aren't getting paid. In fact, they're all paying money to go to college and have the opportunity to play a sport that they love. And as coaches, none of us are getting rich off of this. We supplement with summer camp money, and that's how we're paying some of our part-time coaches and that. But that keeps it pure. And we really haven't, knock on wood, we really haven't been touched by the transfer portal yet. And I hope that doesn't get to the small colleges. I don't. I tell our team guys at the end of the season, I one time tell them this at the end of the season that, hopefully in a couple of years, I don't word it this way, but guys, you're coming off of a 2-win season at the smallest level of college football. If any of you are thinking, hey, I may want to transfer and go play somewhere else because, coach screwed me, coach didn't play me enough.
Right.
That coach at the program that you're thinking about maybe going to, he knows that you didn't play at a 2-win program at the smallest level of college football and you didn't play or you didn't play much.
Yeah.
Guys, you're not in demand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to tell it to you. And it's, but I think it's something that kids have to hear. Hopefully most of them, hopefully it's not even a thing for most of them, but everybody has a bad day and you kind of wonder, hey, what would it be like at the other school? But, most of those kids that do try and transfer, they either don't land well or they don't land at all.
Right.
And they never end up getting anywhere to play again.
Yeah.
And so, plant your roots, work through the adversity that you're going to have. And if you put in the work and trust the process, sometimes it may take a little longer than you hoped it would, but in the end, it's going to work. It's going to pay off. You're going to get to that ultimate goal and it's going to be a good thing. So anyway, that's what we're still doing at the small college level, which at the big levels it just doesn't happen anymore. And it's too bad.
Yeah. Well, saying that to those kids, it's nothing but honest. And sometimes honest doesn't generate comfort either. But those are also realities. And I think that too often in society today, that those that speak honest truth for the right reasons aren't exactly celebrated sometimes. So good for you for doing that. Yeah. So anyway, Coach, we're just going to be wrapping up here. But one of the things that we want to give you the opportunity to do is that our guests always get the last word. And if you can think of a last word that has to do with something about Tyler Chapa, I think our listeners would love that if you have any stories. And if you don't, that's fine too. But at the same time, you've spent probably about as much time with Tyler Chapa as we have possibly. Mm-hmm. So is there any juicy Tyler Chapa stories that are safe for a PG program like the Gridiron Club podcast, Coach?
Well, I probably have two.
Okay.
I probably have two stories. So there's one that I still share with our team, with our teams each year, and that's if you have an idea that there's somebody in the locker room in our program that is a bad dude, a bad teammate, you don't have to go public with it, but let somebody know anonymously so that we can maybe deal with it or handle it. So going back to when Tyler played at Doane, and it was our first playoff year, we went down to Tabor and played down there, and we got beat and got home. And Tyler called me after we got home about 11 o'clock that night, and he was way out of sorts, very upset. Well, what had happened is his apartment in Crete there, he lived off campus, his apartment had gotten robbed while we were away. We were away on an overnight trip, and he knew who did it.
No, geez.
And he knew who did it because he said during the year there were some things on campus that had gotten stolen, and we knew at a small college when things start disappearing from cars, emails go out, lock your cars, something's happening. Well, Tyler had a good idea who it was when it happened to be a guy on the team. So when his apartment was robbed, they left the back screen door unlocked. He knew exactly who it was. And so the police were able to track it down. They went to a Lincoln pawn shop and found most of the stuff, got back and knew exactly who it was. And wow. So anyway, I tell our guys, if you know something, you don't have to publicly, narc a guy out or whatever the word would be, but pull me aside and just tell me what the heck's going on, so maybe I can look into it. And I'm never going to bring up your name, because you can't have that period, but especially in a team, you have to have trust. But on kind of on the other side, on the good side, cool side, We played Concordia that season. And we at Doane at that time, we beat Concordia. I'm not kidding, like 14 years in a row.
Oh, geez.
And it was a great run in just a single one-on-one matchup. And we played them that year. We were ranked nationally. It was that year we ended up going to the playoffs, and we went to overtime with them. They played us really, really well. We were the better team. They played us really well. It was at their place. We went to overtime, and we had the ball first. And I don't know if we scored a touchdown or got a field goal, but anyway, we had scored. They had the ball, and we got them in a fourth down situation. They lined up in their formation. We called timeout. Came over to the sideline, getting Luke Olson, who's now the secondary coach at Duluth, Minnesota Duluth, was in the press box, and Tyler obviously was on the field, and he came over, and Luke told Tyler through the phones anyway, or through Coach Bessler, our defensive coordinator, hey, if they line up in that formation again, this is exactly what they're going to run. Sit on the corner route, and they're going to throw it, and it's going to be right there. It happened just like that. They lined up in the formation. They ran the route. It was their best player on the corner route. They threw the ball up, and Tyler was sitting there. I don't know if he had an in route or what it was underneath that they were trying to get him to bite on, but he was a corner, and he just sat in the back of the corner of the end zone, and he stood right there and intercepted the ball, and that was the walk. That was the walk off for the overtime victory.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, we've heard that story time and time again. You know, he likes to tell that as much as possible. As a matter of fact,
it's true.
You verified it.
Yes,
I can verify.
Yeah.
I can confirm. Yes.
Well, and every time he starts telling it, in the background, somebody starts playing Bruce Springsteen's "Glory Days."
Oh yeah.
So that just kind of starts it like, oh, okay, great.
100%.
Well, that's awesome, Coach.
Coach, I want to thank you so much for being a part of our conversation this week on the Waldorf Gridiron Club podcast, and very thankful for the opportunity to hear your sentiments, your stories, certainly related to Coach, but regarding coaching and players in general, and just your philosophy. It's been a real good experience, and it gives our listeners a great insight into the type of guys we're playing against and how they're led by these different coaches and the institutions of which they're a part. I want to wish you the absolute best of luck in this season with every game except one, and I hope that everything pans out for you this coming fall, and everything that you've got lined up for camps this summer, and of course spring ball as you work towards that. And Andy, I guess what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, again, this is nothing but confirmation for me, and hopefully for our listeners, of the quality of individuals that we have within and without this conference. So, Coach, just thanks so much for spending some time with us today.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys doing this. I think it's, as I said, and when you asked if we could do this, I said anything to promote small college football, because like I mentioned, I think there's a lot of special things that are here, and if we can get out and promote it, even across the conference and across the rivalries and whatnot, it's nothing but good for everybody. And I hope you get good cooperation as well from the other coaches around the league.
Well, yeah, spread the word. I'm sure they'll call and ask as we're going out there saying, hey, we want to talk to you. And they're like, you kidding me? Come and talk to a bunch of
I can predict right now the two that you might have a hard time with, but I'll let you find that out.
I think that you mentioned that out on the field when I met you with Coach Chapa when you came here and played. So, but no, Coach, thank you so much for your time out of your very busy schedule. We appreciate it so very much.
Next time we see you, we'll be at Lloyd Wilson Field.
Yes, we will.
Yeah,
definitely. Yep. All right, Coach. Well, again, thanks so much, and wish nothing but the best for the Broncos this upcoming season. And for Troy Thompson, this is Andy Buffington, and forever and always, go Warriors.
We stole a Chevy Vega and drove it to Winnebago, where we were on track with a pain in our back that no dome could ever shake us. We dressed a Sasquatch in a t-shirt.
Reliable sources tell me that it's by
Figured
appointment.
that could probably couldn't hurt. found a scorpion over in Yankton. Got hooked on some fruit smack while pranking.
Fruit snack.
There's nothing like a tailgate on a weekend, with friends and foes all gather around the field. Don't matter if you offend or defend, our warriors never ever ever yield. We took a route full of briars down the cliff. Some sisters got snookered by a gopher riff. And the corn palace blazed in the morning side sun as we made friends with hobos and loaded our gun. We drive that old Vega down the road in a jiff.
But we're thinking about commencing Grand Theft Auto and wonder if we could use you for an alibi or something.
Yeah. Maybe somewhere else.
It was a summer of dissing and laughing and such as we poked at our new rivals a little too much. The bunker got repainted and Coach nearly fainted when we drove that old Vega right into the Dutch. Oh, there's nothing like a tailgate on a weekend, with friends and foes all gather around the field. Don't matter if you offend or defend, our warriors never ever ever yield.
It should feel that way, but it does feel like there, the pride within the programs is real. So I think around the GPAC, I think you're seeing that.
It was a summer of dissing and laughing and such as we poked at our new rivals a little too much. The bunker got repainted and Coach nearly fainted when we drove that old Vega right into the Dutch. Oh, there's nothing like a tailgate on a weekend, with friends and foes all gather around the field. Don't matter if you offend or defend, our warriors never ever ever yield.
Not all of you would probably choose to spend a Saturday afternoon together if you weren't on the same team, but guess what? We have something in common, and that's working toward this performance and trying to win a game.
There's some energy out there amongst the other coaches to do this, and I'm sure they'll listen to this one coach and see like, hey, are they going to beat us up and talk smack? And that's not at all what we
Just
intended.
the fruit smack.
Well, fruit smack. Yeah.
Fruit smack, man. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, Coach. Appreciate it
All
very
right,
much.
thank
sir.
you guys too. Thank you very much.
Yeah, have a good evening.
Great night and a great
You
week.
too.
Yep.
Yep.
Bye.
You can join the Waldorf Gridiron Club and be part of the best small college football experience in America.
Just visit our website and pick your membership level. Find us and everything Waldorf Gridiron Club related, including professional photos, at waldorfgridironclub.org.
You can also click on the Support the Show link in the show notes to donate.
And you can even use the United States Postal Service by sending your check to the Waldorf Gridiron Club, P.O. Box 125, Forest City, Iowa, 50436.
It's tax exempt, hassle-free, and has a level for every budget.
That's right. Anyone can join, even our rivals.
Show your colors. Join the Gridiron Club today.
Get it?
Got it. Fantastic.
The Waldorf Gridiron Club podcast is hosted by Andy Buffington and me, Troy Thompson. Produced by Sunnyside Farm Studios in beautiful rural Forest City, Iowa. Platformed by Buzzsprout and music by Soundstrike. The Waldorf Gridiron Club is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the student athletes of the Waldorf University football program. Our mission is to assist the program in maintaining the best small college football experience in America.